We stand tall, never fall to the rise with wings of Atlanta. We stand tall, never fall to the rise with wings of Atlanta. We stand tall, never fall to the rise with wings of Atlanta. Kings, we are restless. For unity of our royalness.
We soar like never before.
Nichel MOLIAE, mold of divinity. For unity of our royal Nichel MOLIAE, leaders of who we are. Atlantans, never fall from greatness. We forever stand tall. Atlantis.
Atlantans, we raise that bar, we raise that.
Hey yo, Queen Empress, Nichel MOLIAE.
Sustainability gives us. We
Stand tall, never fall to the rise with wings of Atlanta. Power makers.
Welcome everyone. This is Nichel Anderson, and I'm releasing another clip, that episode that I did about now 2 years ago, pretty much. And it came to me to kind of, well, I always wanted to re-record it in a sense, or re-edit it, that I'm splitting the part. It was talking about jealous people, haters. And what happened was my whole goal was to talk about the characters of Atlantis. And then I kind of went there where in that opening of my statement of my episode, I ended up had to kind of share a journey. And that was being just constantly dealing with, as I was growing up, even thereafter, what have you, I dealt with jealous people, particularly when I wrote the book, Mitzrayim, a memoir of a past life in ancient Egypt. And I kind of went there and told about, my journey when I wrote my second book, which is about corporate America. And after that, I noticed that people was kind of, I was raw with it, that people was interested, it was downloading it, and so forth. So I thought, later on when I get time, I'm going to split it so when people can actually see I want this to be focusing on this topic. And then the other part of the episode to focus on just Atlantis. So right now, I'm finally able to have time to do that. And this is what this is about. So I'm just doing my opening to it before I just let it play. And I kind of had to move some things around so it can kind of flow, because I'm talking about, the year of my season, which is when I did that, it was season 6. And I just wanted to kind of let that be separate. So this is a separate episode of mainly focus on that, sharing my journey, sharing the challenges, sharing how people can be so mean, even when you're doing your dream and minding your business, and putting a spotlight on that they reap what they sow. I said that with emphasis, but it's true. So this right here is just to kind of separate the two that I did that day. It was on January in 2023. And now I'm just re-releasing it where it's just going to focus on that first part where I just kind of went there and shared a part of my journey, all that I went through, all that I sacrificed, all that I have been giving to the universe. And basically I was like, how the audacity. And you know what? I'm going to talk about it. And that's what I said. So before I get to that, here it is now, about 2 years later. And there's some other things I wanted to talk about jealousy. I grew up in a household with haters. I'm going to let that process. I grew up in a household where jealousy was hidden. Envy was definitely hidden and projected on me because of who I am. And I never did one iota thing. They say here in the United States, iota. I never did anything to deserve that. When you were a child, literally, what could you possibly do when your hands is smaller than a slice of bread? I mean, but I was treated as such. I was ignored. I was abandoned. And I didn't know who I could trust to talk about that. Then on top of that, when you thought you had friends growing up, and they smile in your face, they play in the sand, and the little sand area, sandbox as they call it. And fast forward, they always had a jealousy type energy. So Jesus teaches us that in scripture, that in these days, They will be in your family. They will be close to you. That's what basically what you translate that to. So we fast forward to now. Everything you find out about my name in a sense of my creativity, my writing, my books, the film that I did on WBD Boys, even a short film on MOLIAE, that's all I could get to, not really what I wanted to when I arrived in Atlanta. These episodes, if you go back, Maya Angelou, she became my surrogated mother because I never really had a godly mother. I'm going to put it like that. I never really had a godly father. So I'm being raw with you this year is because I really don't give a. I just care about who I am and who God said, who are you? You're this. And he showed me because without him, I would have, He is the glory. You know, jealousy and envy is a very, very bad thing to the soul. Jealousy and envy is very, very limited of the possibility of who they can be. And if they choose and make choices that they have to pay karma, that's not on me. But yet, when I look back growing up, all that was put on me. All of it. And now, fast forward, I grew up to say, I'm still somebody of worth. And so when I read Maya Angelou books and her quotes and her poems, she became my surrogated mother. She became my surrogated really good friends. I had people so fake that were so jealous of me, a sociopath type thinking, befriended me, and at the same time, they was a hater. Process that. Somebody that you envy so much to wish that you were them, you will pretend to put on a mask to be the person friend and talk about that person behind their back. And all those people that sat there and lapped it up and laughed and then said nothing when they could have told me she's not really your friend. All of those that thought that, well, if they wasn't saying it, but yet you're there drinking that Kool-Aid, drinking those lies. All of that is in the book of deeds. All of it is accountable. You have to be accountable for it. And particularly if no one, in the sense that I never done any the same thing with them. I was so kind and nice. Every single one of them have to agree that I ain't never did nothing that they say, I'm going to throw a stone. No, I ain't never did nothing to them to compare to what they sat there and let that hater say something. Said a lot of things about me. I ain't never did nothing to them to make them feel. I always motivate, encourage people, even though I was growing up in an environment that was shunned on. Any successes, I couldn't talk about that. There was no books allowed. I only read the books that I got my understanding of the histories when I left that household, and I gravitated more to having the freedom to read. So reading is deep for me because that was my escape. That encouraged me. So while I was working and decided to write, I was encouraged to write something that back then it was unheard of to talk about ancient Egypt in the sense of what I was saying. And I did that. That was courageous of me as a woman. That was courageous of me as a person, as a human being that wanted to share. I could have kept it all by myself and did this and did that, but I did not. I did it. And every extra that I had, I just put it to the side so I can get it published. And then I finally had enough money to publish it myself. And then I had this other book that I started, and I did that. I did all the work, all the effort. See, people that are jealous and haters, they want the glory. They want the attention. They want the whole table of the feast. They want the glory, but they don't want to do the story. A wise person said it like this: there is no glory without your story. So then they want to take. No, you're not going to take from me. And before I could even say that, God made sure that wasn't so. So this part of this episode that I kind of went there when I was talking about Atlantis, the character breakdown, it's me sharing that part. That was one of many. I had a lot, y'all. They did what they said about me, laughed and giggled. They ain't laughing now. For 8 years, I did this podcast show, and I did another one. I could have just left it with one. I did 2. And that's giving. You give and you shall receive. But with jealous haters, they never want to give. They never want to wait. It's always about them. Mind you, this is over 20 years since I wrote my Egypt book. I have not got to the point that I can do my film. I've been doing everything else for other people or doing other things. They say, well, do this anyway. I've been doing it all this long. In the meantime, every episode that I did, those first 3 or 4 years, I was doing it like it was like I was releasing 2 a week or every week. I think it was every week. It's a lot of work. Writing books is a lot of work. But I did all of that while they sitting there getting their nails done or getting their toes on or shining their cars or whatever or buying some new designer tennis shoes, whatever they was doing is self-indulgence. I'm giving back and I'm living my purpose. So why you be concerned about me? It's because they know their worth, which is not at the same of me. Haters and jealous and bullies, they are the worst of humanity because they want to take what your effort and what you put in, what you planted seeds for them to get the glory, even though there's no scriptures to say that's the formula, but yet they think that that's what it is. So everything that was said behind my back in high school, when I was growing up, or at jobs, oh my gosh, corporate, all of it, karma is real. And in his name, he shall balance it all. This is me. This is me, Nichel. And I gave, and I was sweet and nice and fair, and helped those. So when they don't speak the truth, and they hold on to it at like where they ain't being seen, no, God said he will bring things that are in the dark into the light. That's what's up. I do have plans to kind of like even expand on this topic because it's a spiritual type warfare. It's a balance, and you have to heal your own self to understand. And at the same time, hold on to your worth and idea, because guess what? I became successful. It's not what you have, it's who you are. So when I was told you're different, you're this and you're that, I'm like, I'm only like 5 or something. What did I possibly have? But what they was saying was they saw the Spirit of God. They saw the energy, the positive high vibration. They saw something that they wished they had. But if you stop being all about oneself and thinking one-sided and do the effort, all this work I did, podcasting is not easy. I wrote it, I recorded it, I edited it, I put it up, I market it, repeat. Come on, I did it all for 8 years. That's just podcasting. I wrote over 100 pages of a book, and waiting. The waiting itself is effort. So that's my story, and this is my glory in his name. In his name, he has blessed me, and I put in the action, and these are my gifts. So in that, those haters and jealous people and all of that I grew up with, that never really amount to anything in the sense of giving, that's their pain. That's their karma. So we're going to go ahead and listen to this, and it's going to wrap up. And I just wanted to separate it because it needs to be discussed. It needs to be healed in the sense of those that was on the other end with that attack on being jealous at and being, haters on you. It needs to be separated. So hopefully you can find something to it. If you're drawn to this, it's a reason why. And to get that message that I was saying, no matter what, keep going. No matter what, you be what you was born to be, and you keep rising. That's like Maya Angelou said. I mean, once a person show you who they are, you believe them. So when they kept hearing successes of me, they should have done what she said, and you should have believed. I am a blessed woman in his name, and I do things that are of God and move forward. I put in the effort. And if you choose not to, that's not on me. All right, let's get into this episode. And thank you for tuning in. Have a blessed day. Welcome, everyone. This is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host
for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. So today is a new year, new beginning. We're going to do this. Today I'm going to focus on but today I want to go ahead and focus on that. So without further ado, my name is Nichel Anderson and I love writing. I love stories and writing them, of course. Of course, my dream here is in Atlanta is go ahead and continue to get to my path of filming, particularly of my book, Mitzrayim, a memoir of a past life in ancient Egypt. And my goal is to continue to write stories and bring them to life. I started this podcast going on, 6 seasons, and I really enjoy my podcasting. I'm able to connect and to expand on things that I don't have, much time to. And I create it and I move on to the next and I create. And it's a lovely experience. I just love to sometimes when I can take a break and, drink some tea and talk about my writing and what I'm blessed with. So I'm very happy to do that. And today Atlantis came about. It was just in my spirit to kind of focus on that. This podcast is mainly from my book, as I mentioned. If you have purchased my book, please consider to leave a review on Amazon. If you love it, please be positive. There was a hater over there roaming around and wanted to post that offer thing. I need to do a response to that, but I've just been busy and more important things. And I'm going to take this moment to do that before I get into Atlantis. Haters are just people that they refuse to accept someone else's purpose and talent. And when I wrote my book, I sat down after it was all these images, and I talk about it in my book, and I took the courage to say, I'm going to figure this out and I'm just going to write. At that time, I wasn't considered a writer, even though when I was in college, one of my English professors told me that you're good. And I did take it serious. I was in the retail and fashion. He's like, no, you need to really, his name was Mr. Wright. And he used to always just be very engaged when I turn in my writing assignments or what have you. Anyway, the journey of that is when those images came through and I'm sharing like a memoir, that was my heart. And I decided another courage moment to keep writing. Because see, fear, when it knows it's your purpose, will take that away. And I remember I decided to get up from that and push through all that fear. I have a separate podcast if you're struggling with fear, the surviving your journey to a success. Do check that out. I talk about that. I have a skit about Mr. Fear and his cohorts and comrades and all of that. But I took the chance to write that book where at that time, talking about black Egyptians or black queens and all of that was a taboo, because you definitely didn't learn it when I was going in school. You just learned about slavery, Martin Luther King, and bam, here you are. And that was that fear that no one would accept it, understand it, or connect with it. And I took the chance and I did it. I found a way I could put it in a book and I put it out there. That took more courage, particularly one when it was over 50 pages, and that fear came up like a storm. And my ancestors just talked to me and said, get up. And I got up. And I went to that, it was a typewriter back then, more so, not this iPad, and I did it. And I typed the remaining of those close to, because you gotta type it in, it's front and back, but for that, it's one sheet of paper when you finish typing it up. And I did that nonstop, and I completed the manuscript in 2 months. That's my journey, that's my purpose, that's my lifetime, that's what I'm sharing. And then you put it out there, and then someone come and review it and don't even they don't like the history, maybe they don't like black history, I don't care. I'm being raw with y'all. And if I read about Italians and their history, I'm going to honor that. I'm going to honor the books that the person took the time. Writing a book is a huge project. It takes your soul and your whole entity. And to write that awful thing on Amazon, and I'm not going to talk about Barnes & Noble. I had wonderful reviews. I was so busy. It took me 3 years to read these reviews of my book after I came to Atlanta. And I was just thrilled that people connected with it and what they wrote. In 2020, for some other reason, I'm getting a side-eye over here, was removed. And I'm just like, what? So that was Barnes & Noble. So yeah, I had several good ones that they took the time and they wrote about my book. And I was when I finally read it, a couple years after that, I was like, I don't know what brought me to it. I guess, it was just in me to kind of check that out. And I was so thoughtful of them to do that. And then I think a year after that or whatever, then I saw something with someone wrote awful. If you can have a review and you maybe just didn't connect with it, but you don't try to tear someone down and to mock the characters, what I felt that came through channeling and being a medium of that, doesn't give the person the right to say beyond that, I just didn't connect with it. You say that this wasn't for me, maybe someone else, and you'll move on. And pretty much as the old saying is, if you can't say something nice, you don't say nothing at all. So when you have people that say that about your talent and about your blessing and what you're good at, what you're great at, and they tear it down to say, this is not this is not that. Yeah, then you turn around, they're sitting there stuffing their face with it and enjoying all the goodness that you put out there, but they can't say it to your face. And to post something like that is so wrong. But we all reap what we sow. We all reap what we sow. And I know it's a calling. I know it's a purpose. Before I published that book, Mitzrayim, a memoir of a past life in ancient Egypt, this is the first time I'm even discussing this, y'all. So I'm going to go with it before I get into my conversation. Y'all got to deal with this. My Corporate America, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. That came to me because working in Corporate America after college, I'm like, oh my gosh, they don't even teach this in college. This is crazy. And you know what? I want to help somebody and, help people. Help definitely people coming out of college like I was. And I wrote that book. And I remember I've seen this person on television, and she's supposed to be this and that, HR. So I sent my book. Do you know that lady when I called just to check on it? I was like, I would just like to check on my book to see if you enjoyed it. And I was about, that she screamed at me like she was talking to somebody that, I don't know, whatever, that it was the awful book she ever read in her life. How could you do this? You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm listening to, she's on television. She's a television personality. The television station calls her in to talk about HR and everything. And I sent my book for a review. That's what they say to do. You're young, you're 20s, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And you're by that time, I already had the manuscript of Mitzrayim. I just didn't publish it yet. I was trying to find a publisher. I was doing it, y'all, even though that was unheard of to kind of talk about Black history in that form. And later on, I had this issue at the job in this company, and I thought to write a book about how you can survive it. Corporate America, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Just came up with the title. I even planned the whole filming of the picture on the front. I did that. I had permission to use the office at the company I was with. Yeah, so that right there was the first seed of my future of being here in Atlanta filming. Of course, that little side journal of doing a stage play, but nevertheless, she's screaming on the phone. And based on my childhood, and you can check my other podcast where I talk about my story a bit, I'm so used to that jealousy abuse because I experienced it as a child. And so I just sat there and let her go off. And then when she finally finished screaming at me, it was just so unprofessional. I could have called the station manager and say, "This is your expert?" But what that was jealousy. What that was envy. What that was dumb energy. Check my other podcast. I talk about dumb energy, the same thing as bullying energy. And what that was disrespect. And it showed me that people that you see on television or what they say they're expert are or whatever that, if they have that energy, guess what? They're not saying you nothing, they're just selling you a pipe dream. And to do that to a person that took the chance and wrote a second book, and really it's to help. If you ever do read my book, Corporate America, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success, you can read it. I'm there to help. And to do that and throw all those temper tantrums and all of that is nothing but the enemy. So I said, you know what? At that time, fast forward, I get to Atlanta. 2 years later, I get an email. It's from Essence magazine about that book. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. It was meant to be. And I'm featured in the magazine, and I was in high school. I say a couple years before that episode on the phone with somebody that should have the dignity to say, let me go ahead and check this and let me pray to God or whatever. No, she came out screaming with all of that envy and jealousy of insanity. And she could have just said, you know what, I really don't think the book is for us, or I think you missed this or whatever, but good for you for doing it. And then we could have ended that call. No, she had to scream her inferiority. Fast forward from that, it's about 2000, it's about like 2 years after I got here, I believe, and they want to feature my book. Can I get a clap on that? I did that. I had the courage. I didn't let that lady put me down to make feel I was inferior. I was superior than her because I'm the calm one, and I created a book that can help people. So with that, fast forward, I got that blessing that it was meant to be. And I was in a magazine. I was in high school. Loved that magazine, you know? And here I am, my name and my book. And I'm on the front cover with 3 other people I shared, a couple other people I shared on the cover. And we're in the magazine. Are you kidding me? You're doggone right. So when you fast forward to this comment on Amazon about my Mitzrayim book, guess what? I would say bring it, but I just say, you know what? Live in your own misery, because I'm going to keep going, and I love what I do, and I am talented. Multi-talented. And Princess Armenia had a message, and I called it. When I explained it is of me to share with you, I meant it. And that's what this journey is. So enough of that. I had to get that out, and we're going to move forward. But that was for somebody that's listening in and might be going the same thing. Guess what? You keep going, and you are the success. You are talented. And no matter who doesn't appreciate it, who cares? Because guess what? It's going to manifest, and it's going to show to everybody. I think it's in scripture somewhere that God will present a buffet among your enemies, and you're going to have it all. You hear me? All right, so we're going to get into this. That just came. I didn't plan it. It just happened. It seemed like I needed to address it, and I did. That's my response to that ignorant remark. So if you love my book, help a sister out, go ahead, tell somebody else to post a positive review of my book once they read it, and they're going to get something from it. That's what those other people that their reviews was deleted was saying. It's a giving energy.